What's up guys, it's McNulty here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing well, and massive apologies. I have been super slow on the pickup with the new heroes that have been released into the portal, and I know that we have got two new heroes in here. We've got the Underwild featuring Zekena. I feel like I get the idea that not many people are very interested in Zekena, probably myself included, and that was why I was holding off doing a video, but I have had a couple of requests, so we're definitely going to have a look at these guys. We'll have a look at Gestalt's costume to start with. It's kind of an interesting one because it feels a little bit back to front in a couple of ways. Firstly, I love the way that he looks. They've substituted his normal crown of like sea snails for some coral, and they've also changed around his staff to match that. He's kind of got some funky beads going on, like he's reggae Gestalt now. And they've switched over his class from the cleric class to the wizard class. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'd prefer it if they kept him as a cleric. I think the cleric class is much stronger. Switching over to the wizard class is probably a detriment to him if his special is the same, which I'm sure it is because that's the way they go. In terms of the Nightmares of Atlantis family, that's a bonus for 1 or 2 heroes. 50 or 75% chance to cast negative 10% mana generation, and then the family bonus is related to the Atlantis heroes. I mean, it's just a negative mana generation bonus. The passive is where it's all at, so it's a 50% chance to deal an extra 80% damage to all enemies, and the caster to get 19% mana generation for 2 turns. So the extra damage really is the part of that you look for. Costume bonuses have been creeping up nicely actually, and obviously these are some of the newest heroes with costumes, so you're going to definitely get a huge benefit from their costumes. You can see it's an attack bonus of 13%, defense 13%, health 18%, and mana bonus, unfortunately, and I'm not sure why, it's at 1%. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, that's not how it was like advertised or promoted initially, but it may just be down to the changing tides mana speed, so you can probably get away with that 1%. It's okay. Now in terms of what we're looking at, let's switch off the max power preview. You can see there just a super staunch team power of 1077, so 1072 on the attack, 1026 on defense, and 2075 on the health, which is huge. And those skills are those stats are pretty darn good. And then in terms of what he's actually doing, so the special skill is called Sunken Magma Cube. It was Underwater Magma Cube, pretty much exactly the same thing, just a different word of saying the exact same thing. So the special skill is obviously at the changing tides. Sorry, that's really just thrown me off. That's a stupid name. Okay, so it deals 275% damage to 3 random enemies. That is lower, so it used to be 300% damage to 3 random enemies. The hit enemies become afflicted with the Underwater Magma Cube. Again, hit enemies become inflicted with the same Magma Cube. Now, while if afflicted by the Magma Cube, the owner gets negative 34% defense. Magma Cubes explode in 3 turns, doing 300 damage to their owner. If the Magma Cubes cleanse, the owner gets 34% mana generation decreased for the following 3 turns. This actually seems worse than the original. So yeah, the original has a higher amount of damage, same amount of defense down, and then if the cubes cleanse, the owner gets a negative 34% mana generation for 3 turns. So exactly the same as is to be expected with a lot of these heroes. They're just exactly the same hero, except that with this one, his first tide is slightly lower damage than the old version. The second tide, we're looking at 375% damage to 5 random enemies. Now that feels higher. Yeah, it is. Okay, so they've dropped it on the first charge and increased it on the second. Second is really where it's at, because once you trigger the second the first time, it just keeps triggering that same effect. So that's pretty decent for him. Hit enemies become afflicted with the Underwater Magma Cube. Sorry, I'm reading off the wrong card. There we go. While afflicted, the owner gets a negative 44% defense. Magma Cubes explode in 4 turns, doing 450 damage to their owner. And if it's cleansed, he only gets negative 54% mana generation for 4 turns. Let's see what's changed there. So negative 44% defense is the same. I believe there's an extra turn on this version. Yeah, so they explode in 4 turns. That's actually kind of a downside. You really want it to explode within 3 turns. The cleanse for 4 turns is better. So if the owner cleanses within 4 turns, you want that to be longer. But the main thing about it is that explosive damage that you're going to be able to be doing with the costume. So, I mean, do I think this costume is awesome? Yeah, 100%. But that's only because I think the original hero is awesome. I don't think this costume adds anything extra to an already amazing hero. So if you do manage to pull the hero, then level up the costume and get that stat bonus, because that's the main reason for you wanting to get this costume of Gestalt. Otherwise, I mean, which do I think is better? Like, it's so difficult because I really do like the cleric class. So I might just, if I did pull this costume, I might just end up leveling it and using this version. It's weird to say it, but yeah, I might not use Ruster Gestalt. I might use regular Gestalt. But that being said, I don't have him. But congrats to any of you who do manage to grab this guy, because he is an absolute beast with or without the costume. But now, of course, you do get the costume with him as well. Now he's featured alongside Spartoy, who doesn't have a costume, and Atlantia, who also doesn't have a costume. Atlantia is kind of a booby prize. Spartoy is pretty amazing. He's got some pretty decent heavy hitting fiends and a hit all special as well. So yeah, he's a pretty decent hero. So you could be doing well if you got him or Gestalt from this portal. So congrats to any of you who do manage to pull either of them. And then I really don't even want to have a look at this guy. Am I bad for saying that? Like, I do have Zekena. So I know this hero pretty well. But I know it's just going to be exactly the same special. I mean, I'm not a fan of the art. I think, what does he have to do with, like, cave trees, with, you know, whatever the hell that is growing out of him? He's not a nature hero. He doesn't have anything to do with nature. So I'm not a huge fan. So 400% damage to the target and 400% damage to a different enemy, random different enemy. That is nice, because obviously you can't control the damage on the original version of the hero. Extra damage against Dark is the same, and the target of the second hit gets minus 56% defense for 3 turns. It's the same. And with the stat bonuses, you can see with the max power preview, we're looking at 984 on the team power. So that's what you need nowadays to be able to get these heroes up to a half decent team power. I mean, is there any of these that without costume? I'm just sort of trying to find one. Right, okay, well, he's probably one of the newer ones, but look, 810. And there's 4 stars that are released with more than 810 team power. And team power, I know it's not everything. Everybody's like, well, team power doesn't really play that big of a part. But when you get to a difference of like upwards of 100 to 150, maybe 150 and more, then team power makes a humongous difference alongside troops as well. You know, it's making a big difference. So yeah, I mean, you do need that extra. But I mean, Zekena, I don't really use him for that much anymore. I mean, he's really good as a defense down against Titans, because he's probably one of the highest defense downs in the Holy Element, if not the highest. And he's pretty good if you have some other heavy snipers, because you can finish off that target. But the randomization of the second hit with the defense down really does work against you with this guy. It'd be nicer if you put the defense down on the target that he hit first. That would make him more usable in other areas other than Titans. So, you know, that being said, I know they do have the passive here. So the secondary passive, where they get increased damage against boosted health. It's a good passive, don't get me wrong. So after he casts his special, all allies deal 70% increased normal attack and special skill damage against boosted health for 4 turns. It can come in pretty useful, but you're gonna have to plan him around a team where they've got their boosted health up, and then I'm not sure whether that extra damage, it will help you cut them down quicker, and it will last for 4 turns. So yeah, that's kind of a big tick in the right box for Zekena. So if you do manage to grab his costume, certainly if I manage to grab his costume, I'd be leveling him. You can see the stat bonuses there are good, and obviously we get that all-important 5% mana bonus there as well. So yeah, Zekena's not a bad hero, he's not a great hero, he just hasn't changed at all. And that's kind of the common theme across all of these heroes. I mean, whenever I see a costume, I know it's going to be almost the same as the original, and it's just going to give me a little bit of a stat bonus. So there's very few that I would consider leveling in here. Oh, speaking of, I'd love to have his costume. But anyways, that is enough said on our new heroes in the portal. So I hope you guys are all looking forward to the soul exchange tomorrow. I know I certainly am. As I've said before, I will be doing a proper breakdown of the heroes that are in the soul exchange tomorrow evening in my time, which I'm not sure. I'm in the UK, so I'll be doing one probably either tomorrow sort of after lunch or in the evening. And that will be a full breakdown of all of the heroes that are going to be in the soul exchange, along with who I'm going to be picking as my top priority for the soul exchange in June 2024. So definitely watch out for that. Do drop us a like, and obviously send me a comments. Let me know what you think of these heroes that we've looked at today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and obviously share it with your mama. I had a comment from a mama on that one. That was pretty cool. So shout out to you. I can't remember your surname, but mama something or other. Thanks for your comment. That definitely made me laugh. And yeah, and obviously we've got the memberships on the channel. So if you want to become a member of McNulty's Coffee Shop or McNulty's Beer Garden, then please go ahead and have a look at the additional perks that you can get on there. That all being said, I wish you guys everything of the best. Enjoy what's left of your weekend, and I will see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now.